This is Spectrum.
Alternative medicine, homeopathy, secret society, hypnosis, the paranormal, alternative energy, UFO, abduction, the weird, the wild, and the wonderful.
With your hosts, Tom Theophanous and Scott Jordan.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Spectrum Radio Network on BBS Radio 2. I'm Scott Jordan, here with my co-host, Tom Theophanous, and remember, there's no such thing as too much information. Hey, Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
You know, people are going to start thinking that "Hey, Tom, how you doing, buddy" is recorded, because I think I say it every time.
Yeah, and it sounds the same, too.
It does sound the same.
Every time.
What do we got tonight, buddy? Besides all kinds of stuff going on in the world, like Japan. Japan got hit with a earthquake, then a tsunami, then a volcano, and now multiple nuclear meltdowns. You know, that's huge, really. That's about the biggest thing happening right now. But we do have a guest, and I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on that. And who's that?
Tonight we have James Gilliland, who's an author, a transpersonal intuitive counselor, a visionary, and a founder of Sattva Sanctuary and ECETI. His books include A Reunion with Source, Becoming God's Two, and the soon-to-be-released Ultimate Soul Journey. He is also featured in 2 videos, Project Contact and The Key to Utopia. After a near-death experience, James was expanded into what he calls the interdimensional mind. This great awareness brought him to a greater understanding of the vast interdimensional multi-universe in which we live in. So welcome, James.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show.
Welcome, James. So nice to talk to you. I've been following your work for a number of years. It's great what you're doing out there at the ECETI Ranch.
Yeah, it's getting crazy out here.
It is. Maybe you could give us just a little bit of history. We'll cover the history before we get into the present day. What got you into the research areas that you're in?
Well, basically, it started even as a kid. I had I had bronchial pneumonia, was crossing over, and was kind of in a coma and out of it. So I was going in between worlds at about 5 years old, having a lot of experiences. And that continued. And then I got involved in social consciousness, the schooling and everything else. And, all your invisible friends didn't exist anymore. And so that got, pushed aside. And then around the age of 25, I had a drowning near-death experience where I, went through the tunnel that everybody talks about and ended up in this golden white light, this plane of bliss. And it was real interesting because I was still unique, but I was one with this greater light, this consciousness and energy. And it just totally changed my life and set me back on an intense spiritual journey. And then the next 30 years I studied with lamas and yogis and every kind of process-oriented therapy you can imagine to get where I am right now. And then I started the ranch up here about 25 years ago was when we started up here, and we were just building a retreat center, a healing retreat center, and a template, where people would live in harmony with each other in the land and live a very spiritual life. And it evolved into contact with these ultra-dimensional beings, which come here on a regular basis.
Did you think that this would occur over there when you initially got there?
No, I was building a healing center, a meditation and healing center, and focused in that arena. The area has a long history of UFO activity. I didn't even know about it. Even for the first 10 years I was here, I wasn't really aware of it. And then later on, I started investigating it when the ships started appearing to me. And I was doing an all-day meditation, and the ships came in, and I started talking to them telepathically. And, I thought I was talking to some master teacher or something of that nature. And then when they told me they were coming from a ship, I about lost it and figured I was going nuts.
You went, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to go for a walk.
Much, yeah, I did. I'm going outside. And I'm going to start planting some trees or something and get grounded again because this is getting crazy. And
I've gone to Loopy Land.
Yeah, but everybody else outside saw them. My two sisters, and there was other people that saw the ships hovering over the house. So they kind of validated what I was experiencing.
That's very interesting. And you have people go to the ECETI ranch. Is it pretty much year round, or is it mainly in the summertime?
It's mainly in the summertime. We're closed right now. We're just getting ready to open, but we still have snow on the ground. So it's harsh. It's real harsh here in the winter. Sometimes we have 10 feet of snow, and it's not easy.
Well, you got a tunnel from one building to the next, right?
Yeah, pretty much. This year was pretty light, though. We didn't have that problem.
Wasn't so bad?
No, maybe 2 or 3 feet of snow.
Okay, I want to get your take on, Tom, unless you have any questions about, maybe we'll cover a little bit of it. People go out there and they experience lights in the sky, and the lights in the sky, the UFOs, right over the Mount Adams there, and they respond to people. They flash, what you call power up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it happens on a regular basis, and just about all the people that are in ufology have been here. You know, we've had Dolores Cannon here, Mary Rodwell, Nick Bajik, Alfred Weber with the exopolitics, and Michael Sala with the other exopolitics. I mean, I can go on and talk about all the people that have come here, and you know, Brooks Agnew too has been here, and he had quite an experience. He actually got beamed by the ships, and it changed his whole life, you know, turned his whole life around. He'd be a good one to ask him this story because it was quite a...
Well, he also has a radio station on BBS radio.
Yeah, he does. And but they come in on a regular basis. They will stop sometimes, you know, make a right angle turn. If there's a group out there and we focus on them either with our minds or with lasers, they just totally light the whole sky up and the field. And we'll do a little, I call it dazzle duty, just to let us know they're with us and hanging out with us. But it's just, that's for what most people experience. There are some people here that have had, you know, face-to-face contacts with them. I've had that myself, but they don't do that for everybody.
Okay.
Now,
that's good.
have you had any of them come down like really low, where you have taken pictures like let's say similar to Billy Meyer or that type of?
We have pictures of them hovering, you know, right over the field. Some ships, unfortunately the pictures are a little washed out because of the energy fields around the ship. They aren't as crisp or clear as the Meyer photos, but you know, we've had them land. The ones I've had face-to-face contact, I didn't have a camera at the time, so there's no way, you know, to really give the physical evidence other than other witnesses seeing them. Some of the farm and field workers actually saw them come down on the ground, and we have their testimony. But as far as the ships coming over the house and lighting up, you know, below treetop level, actually cutting the trees in half, I mean, at that level, we have just tons of footage and witnesses. And actually, we just had map makers come out here, which did a full movie on the ranch, and they got some great footage of the ships coming in and powering up and flying all around the mountain.
Yeah, that's going to be released soon, isn't it? I mean, they were actually on a show with Nate 2 weeks ago on BBS Radio.
Yeah, I was in Palm Springs at the conference there.
Oh, how was that? Tell us about that.
It was pretty interesting. I got to do a talk, my own talk, and then I interviewed Little Grandmother on stage, and they live streamed that. And then they did a panel with several of us up there, and we were... Daniel Pinchbeck was interviewing us, and then I did a workshop where we actually brought, you know, the different beings in for people to experience, and I explained the vibration continuum, who they are, how to engage them, cleaned up any unseen negative energies, and then brought the higher energies in, and they took a few photos during the workshop. It's up on Facebook. It's going all over, and the whole room was wall-to-wall light spheres or orbs. It was just totally
orbs, yeah. Lots of pictures of orbs, right?
Yeah, a lot of people had major shifts transformations, healings, everything during the process. It's really amazing watching people come out of there just completely changed. I've even had some real skeptics. People came in with a real negative attitude, and they just got blasted right through it.
Yeah. Well, you said that. I think you made a comment once that happens up at the ranch. You have Intel people, Boeing people, some high skeptic people, and one of two things happens: either the skeptical people get their heads blown off with the lights flashing at them, or they just can't handle the energy and end up just leaving the ranch. Yeah,
pretty much. They either go through a shift and change. A lot of them actually quit their jobs, within 2 weeks afterwards. But, we've had triple PhD Boeing engineers actually go on coast to coast and testify as to the ships that they've seen here, and Lockheed engineers. And the last conference we had, we did an intention experiment to bring the ships in with over 200 people involved in the experiment, and a ship came in and flew right over the conference building, with several people filming it. And one was Brooks Agnew was there. John Riley, who's a Lockheed engineer, was filming it. Renato Longato was there. He filmed it. Quite a few people got footage of it, and William Henry was there, and he was jumping up and down and screaming, when it came in. It totally blew his mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. You've got a gentleman there, and forgive me, I'm gonna forget his name here. He's a Japanese gentleman. He spends a lot of time in a cave, and the dude can teleport.
Yeah, Khan.
Khan, right?
Yeah.
You would think I'd remember that, Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And in his case, wouldn't it? It would be like the Joy of Khan. He seems like a pretty positive guy.
Yeah, he's really undergoing some major challenges because he is from Japan, and he is there right now. And unfortunately, it looks like he lost his whole family.
Really?
in the tsunami, and we're actually setting up a fund, to help him out and help some of the other monasteries, help out the people that need help there. So
you know what? If you have any information for that, could you put it out right now?
I don't have that.
Okay.
I don't have. If they just put it up, I might be able to.
If you want to do it by the end of the show, then.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get it, because I was waiting for it to be. We're having this crazy stuff happen with our internet and all of the in-house communication and emails and everything are just. I mean, everybody's having it. All of our stuff is going north and south and west and not getting to where it's supposed to be, and some major interference going on with the work here. But, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, you showed, just quickly, I think you were doing a talk, and you showed images of Khan disappearing. Mm-hmm. It's the only way I can say it. I mean, he was fading out in the pictures, and then there was a bright light around him, and then a point of light, and then he was gone.
Yeah, that's where there's pictures of a lot of us doing that here. It's we do a form of practice, Qigong, here that we teach now, and it's quite interesting because I have a lot of the students, when I teach the self-mastery classes, people actually vanish in the class. They start phasing out and disappear and then come back, and it happens with several of the people here. We also have some other pretty phenomenal things happen in the last teacher's training class. Actually, Khan was in the class, and after a lot of the pictures he took were with his cell phone, with no flash or anything at night, and he got pictures of Kuan Yin appearing. Right. These 12 or 14, I don't know how tall, they were really tall feline beings appeared to him, and he got photographs of them. And he photographed Ezekiel, a being that I worked, that I connected with during my near-death experience, and which comes as just a huge golden ball of energy with wings. It's kind of interesting. But the one I really loved is that during the self-mastery class, Mary actually appeared above the group, and he actually got a photograph of her actually appearing here at the ranch during one of the classes.
So all sorts of archetypes are popping up.
Yeah, we're very eclectic here. We're not a religion. We're not religious at all. We're just very open, and so we have people from every culture come here.
Which is probably why you're getting the different archetypes.
Exactly. Yeah. We're, if as long as they're in service and focusing on love and joy and bliss and empowering the individual, we work with them.
Right. Same energy, many different forms.
Exactly.
That's my take on it. I mean,
yeah.
Whatever. With the early research on near-death experience I did, what I found across the board was it didn't matter what image popped up. It was all the same. It was just a ball of love.
Yeah.
But
And
that ball of love can take on many forms. And children, which is the youngest children who hadn't had any archetypes implanted into their brain yet, they would just see a ball of light. That's all they see.
Yeah, well, Khan is Taoist, so he's not, he's not into the Catholic Church. He didn't even know who it was.
Yeah.
And until I saw the picture, I go, and we felt her energy come in, and I told people in the class that Mary's coming in. Just open up, feel the energy, allow her to work through you, experience whatever you need to experience. And, the whole class was just sighing and feeling this incredible energy, and a lot of healing energy was going on. And then, he was at the back of the class, and I see him pull his camera out and go click, and then he just goes, oh, he gets all excited. And then I said, okay, we got to see this. And sure
enough, does he speak English?
Not very much. He speaks some English, but not a lot, unfortunately.
Okay. But he's over in Japan right now?
Yeah, he's in Japan right now, and they're setting up a website for him. It's almost set up, and a place where people can donate. And what I can do is I'll send you that link. I was hoping that I got it in my email, but I don't have it. It didn't. It was supposed to be sent to me just tonight. They just set it up.
Right.
And I'm looking in my email, and it's not here, which is pretty much par for the course. Almost everything.
About normal, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what's going on here.
I mean, I know a lot of people that want to help, but they're sort of wary about big international organizations. You funnel the money in there to go help people, and it ends up in people's pockets instead of where.
Yeah, usually goes into one of our ex-president's pockets.
Yeah, I mean, the big international donation.
Yeah.
Just stay away from them. But if you're setting up something that's local, that to help people out in Japan, I mean, that's awesome. That's great. Then directly the funds go directly to that person.
Yeah, this is going directly to. He's going to be working with other monks and other temples and things like that to help out to get this out. And part of the money is actually going to go to helping him search, for his family. Help him to find if his family's still alive or not.
Okay, maybe we should get into that now. What are your thoughts on Japan? Japan got hit with an earthquake, then a tsunami, then a volcano blew, and now there's multiple nuclear meltdowns.
Yeah.
What do you have some thoughts on that? You'd like to just take your time?
Yeah, I think what happens is a lot of these events have more than one thing happening with them, and it's not just one event. And one thing is they definitely had a HAARP signature, and the cloud formations were happening over Japan before that went off. So, and some
by
of the
that
Russians,
you mean the lights, right? The lights.
And the strange cloud formations where they take these really weird patterns that are pretty obvious that there's some HAARP activity going on. So that was at play, and actually some of the Russian scientists said, we clearly detected the signals, way before the quake that were at play. And for those who know how HAARP works, it just keeps building energy in that one spot until it busts loose. So what happened too is also some coronal mass ejections and solar flares also hit at the same time, along with that, and then. The ninth wave came through on March 9th, which is that huge wave of energy. They call it unity consciousness, the Mayans talk about. So very intense energies were all at play during that time. And
the moon?
And
the moon is close. There's lunar modulation, solar effects.
Yeah.
I believe Piers Corbin talks about that.
Exactly, and we're coming up just a few days now. We have another huge full moon that it's going to be closest to the Earth, and so between now and then, we are going to have some more shaking and rocking and rolling. So what I see happen there is multiple things, and I know that Japan has really been thumbing their nose at the New World Order, and they were demanding that they turn over control of their monetary system to them, or they were going to send a quake, and they actually did hit one area before that, and that had a nuclear reactor, and they told them exactly when and where it was going to happen, and they did do it. So they did turn over the control temporarily. I think that's they're trying to get it back right now. There's a lot of nonsense going there, and they also brought out 911 in their parliament there. They talked about that openly and said this was not what it's being told. It's an inside job and everything else. And they're bringing out all these water cars and magnetic motors. And so,
yes, the hydrogen cars, yeah.
Yeah, so on every level, they're snubbing their nose at the New World Order boys, which makes it pretty obvious that they... and my gut feeling is that I think there was some major intervention there. It could have been a lot worse than it did happen, because I think their plan was just to totally wipe Japan off the map, and there's enough intervention that didn't allow that to happen. And there's still intervention going on right now, because there are a lot of ships being sighted there. I'm getting a lot of reports of a lot of UFO activity there, and that's one of the things that we've been praying for we've been doing live stream meditations to send energy and healing to Japan, and one of the things we've been asking for is to really focus on help from these ultra-dimensional beings that are very spiritually and technologically advanced. And
now, where are you doing the live streams from? Or do you have a Ustream or a JT?
Yeah, we have Ustream. Yeah, we have Ustream here, and all
What's
that.
The address? Sorry, I keep asking you these detailed questions. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I just click a button.
Yeah, if you go to website and go to the website, it's on there at ECETI.org. Or if you just go to, wait a second, I just got Consite. Okay, so I just happened to get Consite here. I guess they're listening to me over here. Let me give that one that will help out the people there in
Japan.
Yes,
very important.
But it's HTTP, // and it's funds.gofundme.com, and then, / and it's 32, OIG.
Okay. We'll put that up on, go for it again. And
what's your email? I'll just shoot it to you really quick.
Oh, yeah, give it to me. info@spectrumradionetwork.com. info@spectrumradionetwork.com. And if anybody wants to call in and talk to James, our live numbers are on the Listen Live page at www.spectrumradionetwork.com.
Okay, so it's info@spectrum, what was it?
info@spectrumradionetwork.com. spectrumradionetwork.com.
All righty.
Sorry, I had to do that.
It's sent off, so you'll have that link, and that we'll have it. I'll put it up on the show on our site on BBS, the Azure site, and we'll put it up. We'll send it out over our list. Also, too, if people want to sign up for our newsletter, it's free, and it's the email newsletter, and it goes out and it lets people know about all these things that we're being involved in and helping out Japan and the live broadcasts and everything else. And it's also at ECETI.org.
Okay, that's great. So just to carry on with what's going on in Japan, you think that there's a larger influence going on. Now, I do know that Japan is very open when it comes to free energy research.
Exactly.
They're putting a lot of time and effort into that sort of thing. And historically, and this is going back 20 years, Japan has always been very interested in the UFO phenomena.
Exactly, and it's stepped up like crazy there. I'm getting just overwhelmed with reports, and I think it's very important that maybe before we all go to bed tonight, that maybe we say a little prayer that the higher beings, the masters, whoever you're connected to, ask for a little help and ask these ultra-dimensional beings if they will step in and kind of cool down some of these reactors or shift them. They did it in Chernobyl. There was a lot of reports, even by the scientists there, of a ship hovering right over Chernobyl, sending looked like a purple-colored beam right down into the reactor, and then all of their readings dropped significantly.
Yeah, no doubt. Purple, what a great color that is.
Yeah.
I mean, energetically, purple is a pretty big deal.
Major transforming energy.
Yep, big time. Tom, do you have any questions about...
I want to go back and ask about some of these beings as to what what they look like, where they came from, or where they're coming from. All
right. Real quick, the Ustream name is just ECETI, ECETI. If you go to Ustream.
Oh, okay. That's handy.
Yeah, it's ECETI. So.
When are you guys going to be broadcasting again?
We're going to do another one Thursday at 7, I believe. We're going to do another.
And that's 7 p.m. Pacific?
Pacific Standard Time, exactly.
Okay, so 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, and some of these beings that we have been working with, most of the ones the first contacts that I had experienced were Nordic. They were the Pleiadians, and extremely blissful, very giddy energy, very loving energy. And then it shifted to, there's an Orion Council of Light that J.J. Hurtak wrote about, and I was initiated by them, and they're also look much like us, very genetically refined, very beautiful beings inside and out. Only when I looked at the female, her name was Melia, she looked like all races combined in one, like a very advanced race of beings that might have come out of multiple races, all eventually combining, which is pretty much what would happen over thousands or millions of years. But and then I've had contacts with these Andromedans that are very tall. They're 8 to 10 feet tall, very big beings. Those were the main contacts that were happening. And then later on, all these other beings started coming in, and just as my own educational process. And the ones that have been coming in a lot lately are these feline beings, 5th and 6th dimensional feline beings from Sirius.
Okay. Now that's been happening a lot. You were saying.
Yeah, that's happening. And actually, Khan got a photograph of the 6th dimensional Sirians coming in, which are extremely tall. They're like something out of Avatar. And what's interesting is we've had them photographs or drawings of them on our website for I don't know how many years now. I've lost track. And when I saw the movie Avatar come out, I went, all right, this guy's getting information from somewhere. It's pretty amazing.
These the Pleiadians, is there any similarity to the Maya information?
Well, they seem to be different, and they seem to be very accurate in the things that they say, and extremely loving. They seem to be a whole different enchilada there, because I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with the Maya group, but they are tough. I mean, they believe that Billy is the only true prophet of God, and that he's the
he used to be
contact.
Jesus Christ at one time.
Yeah. And they venomously attack all other researchers, even crop circle researchers. Tell them that they're all hoaxed and things like that. So that's been going on for a long time.
Well, Michael Horn's sort of
yeah. It's like
I picture him in full battle gear with a two-handed sword, mowing down anybody that stands in front of him.
With the exception of whatever their belief systems might be, is there any like when I say similarity, do any of these beings have any connection to whatever Myers group was talking?
Is there a different? One's called Pleiadian, and it's called Pleiadian. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. Well, the thing is about Pleiadians are even mentioned in the Bible. they talk about the sweet energies of the Pleiades. If you go to any of the ancient ancestors information from the Native Americans, they all point to the Pleiades, and they actually say the name Pleiades. If you go to the Philippines, and they point at the Pleiades, the Hawaiian kahunas, point at the Pleiades and have the name. So it's really interesting. That name has been around forever, but the Meyer group is saying, well, they aren't Pleiadians, they're Pleiadians, and we have an exclusive on them, and we just said they're Pleiadians to set everybody else up, which was ridiculous. But it's a very, very ancient, even the Egyptians, everybody has it's they're all aligned with Pleiades. It's in the temples, you can see these different star nations or star groups that are aligned with our most ancient cultures and very involved in our cultures as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of star systems that are, the alignments show up a lot. Pleiades, Orion,
Sirius,
the dog star, I was going to say.
Yeah.
So, they come
that's up
all over the world.
Again. Exactly. Yeah, there's no exclusive on spirit or contact or UFOs. I hate to burst people's bubbles, but, there's people being contacted all over the planet right now. And a lot of people, when they're meditating and praying, they're actually working with, these Pleiadians or higher dimensional beings. And, even Billy Graham calls them God's other angels. And it's funny, he said they don't need to be baptized because they haven't created the original sin or whatever because they weren't on this planet.
Which is bad for people who weren't born on this planet. All the billions and billions of other planets who can't be saved because they weren't born here.
Yeah,
that's a little rough. Yeah,
kind of said they didn't need to be because they didn't bite the apple.
Oh, okay. So no apples on their planets.
Yeah, I guess not.
I'm having a little fun with it. Just sometimes you gotta laugh. It's so. You've had.
Are these beings on a physical plane, like ours?
Some of them are. Most of them are higher dimensional beings, but they can drop in. They have both the spiritual ability and the technology to drop in to this reality if they so choose.
I think that applies to the lights that are showing up on Mount Adams as well. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, we just flew around that mountain and photographed it very close, and we had one of the biggest melt-offs we've ever had, where a lot of the glaciers were gone, and we found these two just massive caves going into the mountain, and it looks like a giant Buddha carved out in front of it. And,
really?
and that's the area where we see these ships coming in and out on a regular basis. And actually Kenneth Arnold in 1947, who coined the word flying saucers, he actually lost sight of the ships when they landed on the western slopes of Mount Adams, which is right where this is. So there's a long, long history with fire tower spotters.
So you're going to be setting up a hike to that area.
Exactly. There probably will be an expedition.
How's the terrain up there?
It's rough. It's really, really
Is it a hard
tough.
climb?
Well, the problem is a lot of it is sheer ice that you'll be climbing on. You'll be climbing up sheer ice on some of it to get to that cave, unless you catch it just right where it's all completely melted down. And it's not on the regular climb that most people do. It's in a different area. So it's going to be, it'll be tough to do it. But
does it melt in the summertime or no?
It does. Yeah. Most of it does. The mountain still has snow on it all throughout the whole year, but the majority of the snow on the south side melts with some left, and then the other sides are just packed. Especially the north side is just full of snow, I think, year round.
Oh, okay.
How far are you guys from it?
We're about 13 miles.
That's not very far at all.
Yeah, it looks like it's in our front yard. We look right at it in our front yard, and that's the field. We all go out in the field and pull up lawn chairs at night and just watch the ships either coming, in and out of the mountain or flying overhead. Like they fly right over the house and play with us.
And you have satellite information on a laptop there, where you can. I don't remember the name of the program, but you have a program that tracks all of the known satellites flying overhead.
Yeah, there's J-Tracker, and then there's Heavens Above, both, which we use to make sure we're not looking at a satellite. But satellites don't stop and then make right-angle turns and do big C-shaped turns and fly below the trees and respond, to the people on the ground. I keep people saying, "Oh, you're seeing meteors and satellites," and we had a guy from OMSI Planetarium, which we showed the ships landing on the mountain and morphing from 1 to 3 and back to 1 again, and he said it was the space shuttle. He said, "We're seeing nothing but the space shuttle." And I asked the guy with ABC News was interviewing him, and I said, "Did you ask him what the space shuttle was doing on the mountain?" And he goes, "No, I didn't ask him that." And I go, "Oh my God." It's like
mainstream media, right?
Yeah, we have that footage, and it's just unbelievable, the lack of base common sense that's coming from these debunkers. I mean, what they're coming up with now, it's so ridiculous. It's actually a comedy.
Yeah. Have you had any of the videos analyzed?
Oh yeah. We've had a lot of it. I actually had some of the footage from Village Labs with Jim Dilatosa analyze one of the ships, one of the big Pleiadian ships, and it's a beautiful ship when it's coming in. It's pink in the middle and turquoise on the top and bottom, and on the sides it's blue. Just beautiful colors spectrum on it. And when it came in, it was putting out this deep, deep pulse. And we actually had that analyzed, and what they said was it sounded like some kind of a binary code, and it's so deep you can't even play it on your laptop. You have to have some pretty big speakers to really play it, just because it is such a deep pulse, coming from the ship.
Wow, that's interesting. And
one other thing I wanted to talk about, which was hilarious, is that Above Top Secret came out here, and we have actually on film with Johnny Anonymous actually receiving a healing from the Pleiadians, and he got the sound of their ships coming in, and he went on record and said, "Hey, my whole back and my leg is feeling great. I don't know what happened here," and he got the sound of the ships and everything else coming in, and then when he went home, he totally deleted all of that, as well as some really good footage and everything else, and came to the conclusion that they were satellites. And we have Johnny Anonymous with Above Top Secret, and they were out here. Unfortunately, they were out here, and they were, pounding down the Jack Daniels quite a bit out there, the rest of the group, and they saw ships come in and threw the binoculars down on the ground, and goes, "Oh my God, it's a ship," and ran off and just kept drinking, So all that stuff happened, but you didn't hear any of that. And it was when Robbie Williams was out here. And if you hear Robbie Williams' story about what he experienced out here, it's a totally different story. And we have his sound engineers and everybody else that analyzed the sound of the ships, and they said they've never heard anything like it. They got the sound from the ships, and they said that it was like all these different ringing tones feeding back on themselves, and in a loop. And he said he's never heard anything like it, and that's his business. He's there to duplicate and filter out and check out any kind of sound, and he's a master at it.
Well, Robbie Williams is a recording artist.
Yeah, he's like the Beatles over there in pop star, over in the UK. But and he came back a second time because he had such an amazing experience here. He came back again and actually wrote quite a few songs here. And so, if nothing happened here, why would they come back, for one thing? And the other thing is that why did they sanitize and censor all of this footage? And we have the footage, we may put it up there, but it's very sad. It's very sad what they did with the experience here. I've never seen such nonsense and such disinformation about what really happened here.
Well, you run into that a lot. You run into that. This is almost par for the course with you? I mean, you run into that with the UFO crowd. Of course, you're talking to two people who are part of the UFO crowd, but Tom was director of MUFON Ontario, and he broke away in 1993 just because, well, you know, it was crazy.
A little too infiltrated.
Pretty much. But, you know, so you've had run-ins with the UFO field. You don't even really go out and talk on lectures in the UFO field that much anymore, do you?
No, I pretty much, if you look at like the major, you know, UFO groups out there, a lot of them, and just go and look at who's on their boards, you'll see there's like Council on Foreign Relations people holding cards, you know, and military people, you know, ex-military intelligence, things like that. Their boards are full of them, and they keep a very dark picture going out there, and you know they're trying to push that, you know, Werner von Braun program, you know, where they went through all the other countries as a threat, and now they want to make UFOs a threat as the last hurrah to keep the war industry going. So,
right.
You know,
Tom knows a lot about that. Tom, we just recently talked to Elaine Douglas, who was a state director for MUFON, and now there's a lot of stuff going on in MUFON that's blowing up in their face. Tom, could you go over that a little bit? Just give us a quick rundown.
Well, I mean, you know, one of the major things that was found recently, you know, in the last couple of months is when Robert Bigelow was involved in purchasing pretty much everything that MUFON had and will have in the future. And by doing so, you know, basically this owns them and controls everything that goes in and out, and it's a crazy type situation down there. And
it's really crazy. Yeah,
they hadn't told you know the rest of the
membership,
the membership, which is ridiculous. You know,
yeah,
for them making those kind of choices and you know, the board is got, you know, the power to pretty much do anything. Well, the members have no clue.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, it's amazing what's happened. They were slowly being changed. They got to the point where you could only, all of the top tier reports that were coming in, there was a special team that was set up called the Star Team, and they would be set out to investigate the stuff. And even the people who were the state directors couldn't send their groups out. No. Only that team could go out and check out the big cases.
Yeah.
They had to sign non-disclosure agreements. I mean, this is a volunteer organization we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Yeah.
You know? Can't even tell your wife about the case you're investigating? Come on. That sounds like a military operation.
Pretty much is, you know, unfortunately, that's how it got started. But, you know, we've had some wonderful people come up here with MUFON, you know, the Oregon chapter, some of the ones down in, especially down in Eugene, Oregon, in that area, came here and they saw what was going on here and they just loved it. And we've had a lot of people come here, but what I've seen is that with the MUFON people that came up here, it was a real mixed bag. Either they came up with such a bad attitude and a control program going on that they actually ruined it. You know, they ruined the experience for everybody else. And also too is that we would have some that came up that were serious investigators and they just wanted to get to the truth of what was going on, and wonderful people, and they had an incredible experience while they were here. You know, I've had women come up with a hat, you know, the little MUFON hat, and go, I'm a field investigator, and everything you're seeing here are satellites, and you're not, you know, doing your work and all this other stuff. And we have the thing right in front, you know, the computer's right in front of them going, look, here's J-Tracker. Right now it says Trout Lake is clear. There's nothing here overhead. What was that big, massive object that just flew over and made a right angle turn and powered up and lit up? And she goes, that was a satellite, you know, that, and I go, oh my God, you know, where do they get this? I go, this is ridiculous. And then they went storming off, you know, so I'm sure that report went out, you know, as a real positive one. But, you know, you have that kind of thing that happens here. And what I see is you kind of get here what you bring to the party. If you bring a bad attitude here, a lot of times you go home with a really bad attitude. But if you just have an open mind, and you come for the experience, you'll see things that there's no way you can explain.
Yeah, well, I mean, even when we interviewed the BBS radio guys, Doug and Don, Doug and Don Newsom, they said, they was it both of them that were up at the ECETI or ECETI or
just Don?
Just Don.
I don't think Doug came up.
Don said he had a great experience.
Yeah, there was 300 people here that weekend, and it was crazy. And we had 4 ships, huge ships, come in and power up right over the group, with hundreds of witnesses outside. So it was just a crazy weekend when he was here, and there were so many people. But whenever we have these big conferences, we have a Science, Spirit, and World Transformation conference. Whenever we have these, the ships come in every time. And what's funny, Renato Longato, do you know him? Do you know who he is?
I've heard of him, yes.
Yeah, he's kind of a Latin American UFO investigator and journalist or whatever, and he's always here when the ships come in, and I always hand him a camera, and he gets them on film, and it's kind of a joke because you always hear him in the background going, I got it, like this, it's, and everybody's just laughing and having a good time. I mean, there's no fear here. Everybody just loves the experience, and
that's the point. It's exactly what you said. It's what you bring to the party. Mm-hmm. If you're bringing that sort of positive outlook, or even an open, inquisitive outlook.
Exactly.
Then you can benefit from that.
Hey James, just getting off the topic a little bit, how's the mushroom picking up down there?
I don't think it's started yet, but there are a lot of pickers up here, and they seem to do pretty well. I think most of it's under snow still.
Yeah, right now it would be, yeah. But I hear the morels are really doing well up there in the spring.
Yeah, they pull a lot of morels out here, and they have fires posted everywhere here, and it's a pretty big operation in this area.
Tom's a mycologist, so of course he's going to talk. I have no idea what he's talking about, but he just, mushrooms, okay.
Yeah, I have a hard time telling which one is which, so I'm afraid to eat them. So
Tom would know. Tom knows. He takes people
out. I would like to come down there and do some of that as well.
Yeah, there you go. We have them all around.
Out in the woods and teaches them how to live in the woods and eat from what the woods provide.
Oh, good. Yeah, we could use a little experience there.
Definitely. Tom, you should go down there. Well, I'm going to drag Tom down there anyway. We're coming up with a plan to get him down there this summer.
Oh, great. Yeah. It's a life-changing experience because, people that come up here, I always tell people, don't even take my word for it. Come up and see for yourself. And the people that do are just blown away. I mean, when this becomes real for you, then you go, wait a second, what's real and what's not real? Everything else I was told might not be real either. And it kind of cracks the egg, and then they just take off from there.
So what do people do? I mean, you have, like you said, 300 people show up. Do they bring trailers and camping gear and?
Yeah. Most of them camp in the field. They bring, and then there's a lot of hotels not too far away. Within 20 minutes in Hood River. So a lot of people get hotels in Hood River, or they just come and camp, and that's the best way to do things. If you camp, you're out in the field, and things. The field just fills up with light spheres and orbs, and there's lights zipping around the field. It's pretty crazy. And
you don't mind people showing up with a tent and a sleeping bag and saying, I'm just going to go set up in your field, James.
Yeah. No. We.
How big is your property there?
It's a little over 70 acres.
70 acres.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
70. That's huge. Do you have organic gardening there and all kinds of stuff?
Yeah, we have huge gardens here. We grow a lot of our own food, and we have probably about, I would say, a good 7 or 8 acres of echinacea that's like 10 years old. It's all organic. We just have all kinds of things. We have yaks. We're raising yaks and chickens, and all the above. You can go down to the end of the road and catch fish out of the river, and go a little further down and get salmon. You can get trout and salmon. So it's a lot going on here.
So you're pretty much set up there. You're have you got a natural well or?
Well, the whole town here is on Glacier Springs, which is a huge spring that the town is on. It's all gravity fed. And then I drilled a well here on the property and pretty much hit the mother lode. So it's a huge well that provides everything that we need.
Now, are you worried about radiation coming from Japan over in the atmosphere over to where you guys are at? Because I believe you're on the West Coast.
Yeah. I don't worry about much of anything, basically. So having already died a couple times. It's not that big a deal. But we are taking preventative things. We've been doing this for a while anyway, because I don't know if you're aware of the chemtrails and that whole process going, but one of the things that's coming down out of the sky is strontium, and it's radioactive. So we've been getting the heavy metals out of our system, the aluminum, the barium, and strontium, and all the other nonsense. What on earth are they spraying is a movie that everybody should watch to see what's really going on.
I agree.
And that was another thing that Above Top Secret totally dissed and said it's all nonsense and crap, is the chemtrails. And I go, who are these guys? I mean, what is wrong with them? They're supposed to be, looking out for us. And obviously, they have some major corporate sponsors that...
A lot of the big forums are, pretty much infiltrated, taken over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes you sad when somebody comes to your place, and you house them, feed them, take them out, they act like you're your best bud and everything, and then they go home and just totally rip everything apart. And to me, it's not so much, I don't feel like, they screwed me or my character, they screwed themselves when they do it. But it is sad to see humanity result to that kind of nonsense, when they could be doing such, a service to humanity.
Yeah, and there's no real point. There's no real point biting back. You just want to go, okay, you had the opportunity to have this experience and share it. You didn't. You did a smear job. Next. Well,
at the same time they were here too, Paranormal State was here. And they did an incredible coverage of the whole thing, but they did their kind of Hollywood version. They had to have boy meets girl and make a play out of it, but other than that, they did show the ships coming in. They did bring their psychic Coffee. What's his first name? Tim Coffee? I'm not sure, but they brought him on, and both of us on the air, he said, well, where do you think the ships are going to come in? And I said, well, they're going to come in, from the east. And I told him 10 o'clock, a little bit towards the mountain, towards the east, and then Chip Coffee, that's his name. And he said the same thing. I came up to the table after he did his interview, and I told him the same thing, and they all looked at each other going, whoa, it kind of freaked them out. And the ships did come in right at 10 o'clock, and they came in exactly where we said they would come in, and they put on quite a show, and they got it all on film. So that's pretty clear that there is pre-knowledge of the ships coming in and when they're going to come in, and cooperation on their end.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff. I mean, it's a hot spot. I mean, there's lots of hot spots around, but you're living on a hot spot, and you were sort of drawn to that area, weren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, with visions, and I didn't know who was doing the visions. I found out later, but it was them that were showing me the visions on where to go and inspiring me to do it. And the other thing too is that we have a different approach here. We rose to the occasion and really developed ourselves spiritually, and we invite them to come in versus chasing them around with a camera. And so we're extremely successful at what we're doing, much to the chagrin of most of the UFO community, because what we talk about, we have the evidence to back it up. I mean, I have boxes and boxes of footage of these ships doing everything imaginable and jets chasing them, and it's kind of hilarious. We actually recently, with the map makers were here, we had a big UFO come right over the house with a jet screaming and vectoring in on it, and the jet disappeared. it's just we don't know where it went. All of a sudden, it just vanished.
Wow.
Do you get a lot of daytime stuff or mostly nighttime?
Mostly, we get daytime stuff, but mostly nighttime. They're very easy to see because the fields around them, when they're lit up. We get a lot of daytime footage, too, of the ships, mainly photographs. They just show up in the photographs. But what's interesting is the day after that event happened, we had 3 black F-15s come right over the house twice, very low. I could see the guy's face in the cockpit. That's how low they were. And
Wow.
and we got that on
That's
film.
sort of legal, isn't it?
I think it is pretty illegal, but we actually filmed them doing it. Unfortunately, we filmed them on the second pass, which was further away, but the first pass was right over us. It was undeniable, and we got the whole thing on film. But we have black helicopters on a regular basis here, and footage of them chasing the ships and photographs, and it's a no contest, really. The ships just zip back and forth, and they'll turn and come in on the ship, and all of a sudden it just appears behind them. And it moves so fast that there's really nothing they can do about it. So these beings are so advanced. There's nothing. We can do about it.
Those new satellites can do that,
yeah, exactly.
They're just the new ones, not the old. The old ones just go around, right? And stationary object. But the new ones, they can do right angle turns, disappear and reappear at will.
Oh yeah. And then become 3 and then back into 1 again. I think that's an amazing satellite trick.
That's a really good one.
Or become a giant